I don't care who you think you are, the manager's voice sliced through the hushed elegance of the Beverly Hills jewelry store. You need to leave, now, or I will have security remove you. The words echoed off pristine glass cases, each a shrine to glittering perfection. At the center of the storm stood Diana Mitchell, a black woman of 42, her navy blazer perfectly pressed despite the chaos erupting around her. She faced the store manager, Patricia Whitman, her hands trembling with a rage so profound it felt like a physical force. Diana's eyes blazed, and in their depths, a power barely restrained brought the store to a standstill. It was the look of someone who had been pushed far beyond their breaking point. Patricia's face flushed a blotchy red as she fumbled for her phone. I'm calling the police. You look like a thief. But Diana was a step ahead. Her own phone was already in her hand, the earlier tremor gone, replaced by a deadly stillness. Go ahead, she said, her voice low and even. Call them. But first, allow me to make a call of my own. Patricia had no idea that she was witnessing the beginning of her own downfall. She had no idea that the woman she was humiliating was the very architect of the world she so proudly inhabited. Diana Mitchell was the founder and CEO of Luminous Designs, an empire of 47 stores spanning 12 states, generating over $180 million a year. Her pieces graced the red carpets of Hollywood and the pages of fashion magazines. For 8 consecutive years, Forbes had listed her among America's richest self-made women. Yet, the woman who could have bought and sold this entire city block still drove the 2003 Honda Civic she'd purchased when her business first turned a profit. When asked why, her answer was always the same. It's a waste of money. This car gets me where I need to go, and every time I get behind the wheel, I remember where I came from. That memory was the bedrock of her empire. Every morning, Diana woke at 5, fastened her grandmother's simple silver bracelet to her wrist, and chose one of her stores to visit, unannounced. It was a ritual not of inspection, but of connection. She wanted to ensure that every person who walked through her doors was treated with the dignity she herself had so often been denied. I built this company, she often told her staff, so that no one would ever feel the way I did when people decided I didn't belong. And this store, Luminous Designs of Beverly Hills, was not just another location. It was her flagship, the crown jewel on Rodeo Drive. This was the store Diana had designed herself, agonizing over every detail, from the precise angle of the lights that made each diamond weep with fire to the plushness of the carpets. It was a temple of luxury that pulled in over $2 million a month, catering to A-list celebrities and old Hollywood money. Running this temple was Patricia Whitman. At 38, Patricia was a product of old Connecticut wealth, a world where money wasn't flashy. It was an inherited fact, like the color of one's eyes. She saw her job not as management, but as curation. In her mind, she was elevating the brand, carefully filtering who was and was not worthy of the luminous experience. On this particular morning, Diana had climbed into her humble Honda and driven through the sun-drenched streets toward the store that was the culmination of her life's work. When she walked through the polished brass doors, the first thing she noticed was not the soft classical music or the gleaming displays, but a single showcase, infinitesimally crooked. She made a mental note but said nothing. She was here to observe. Straightening her blazer, she touched her grandmother's bracelet for luck and walked deeper into the heart of her creation. She headed for the centerpiece, the Aurora collection. It was her masterpiece, a $2 million suite of rare diamonds that represented the pinnacle of her company's craftsmanship. As she approached, admiring the collection's signature necklace, a breathtaking piece priced at $350,000, Patricia intercepted her. "Hi there," Patricia chirped, her smile bright but failing to reach her eyes. She had already assessed Diana from head to toe and filed her away. "Looking for something special today?" "Yes," Diana replied, her enthusiasm genuine. "I'd like to see the Aurora collection." The smile on Patricia's face faltered. The Aurora was not for casual browsers. "Oh," she said, her voice acquiring a patronizing edge. "Those are our premium pieces. They start at $200,000. Diana heard the shift in tone but gave her the benefit of the doubt. "I understand. I'd still like to see them." Patricia was now in a bind. She couldn't outright refuse, so she tried another tactic. "May I ask what the occasion is?" she asked, hoping to steer Diana toward something more appropriate. The question puzzled Diana. Does it matter? Reluctantly, Patricia unlocked the case, hovering over it like a hawk. But Diana didn't browse. She examined. Leaning in, she studied the centerpiece necklace with the practiced eye of a master. The cut on this diamond is exceptional, she murmured. Colombian origin? Patricia was stunned. Customers didn't know things like that. How did you... Yes, she stammered. The clarity is flawless, Diana continued, but the setting could be improved. The prongs are slightly uneven. A wave of defensiveness washed over Patricia. No one criticized the craftsmanship in her store. Our pieces are crafted by master jewelers, she said stiffly. I'm sure they are, Diana replied, still trying to be diplomatic. I'm just very particular. Just then the door chimed. An older, wealthy white couple, the Blackstones, entered. Patricia's entire demeanor transformed. Her face lit up with a genuine, dazzling smile. Excuse me, she said to Diana without a backward glance, and rushed to greet the newcomers. Mr. and Mrs. Blackstone, how wonderful to see you. Diana was left standing by the open, multi-million-dollar display, utterly ignored. She heard Patricia's fawning voice carry across the store. So sorry for the delay, Patricia said to the Blackstones, casting a dismissive look toward Diana. We get all kinds wandering in here. The words landed like a punch to the gut. In 23 years, Diana had faced discrimination, but never like this. Not in her own store, not from an employee she paid to uphold her values. A young sales associate, Ashley Chen, saw Diana standing alone and approached her with a kind, genuine smile. Ma'am, can I help you with anything? Before Diana could answer, Patricia's voice cut through the air. Ashley, please organize the back inventory. It was not a request. Diana gave the young woman a soft, reassuring look. It's fine, dear. I'll wait. And she did. For 15 excruciating minutes, Diana stood and watched. She watched Patricia offer the Blackstones champagne. She watched them settle into plush velvet chairs. She watched them being treated precisely the way every customer was meant to be treated, while she herself was rendered invisible. Finally, she had seen enough. She walked back over to Patricia and politely interrupted. Excuse me, I'm still interested in the Aurora piece. Patricia turned, her annoyance palpable. Look, she said, her patience gone. Those pieces require a serious financial commitment. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable in our fashion jewelry section? The fashion section. Items under $500. Diana felt her jaw tighten, but her voice remained steady. I would like to purchase the Aurora necklace, the $350,000 piece. Patricia laughed. A sharp, incredulous bark of a laugh. I'm going to need to see proof of funds first, she said, a smug smile playing on her lips. Proof of funds? Credit cards, bank statements, Patricia explained as if to a child. Something that shows you can actually afford this. Is this standard policy for all customers? Diana asked, her gaze flicking to the Blackstones, who were handling pieces of equal value without any such interrogation. For purchases of this magnitude, yes, Patricia lied smoothly. Then her facade finally cracked. Get out of here. You don't even look like you can afford it. You're probably here to steal it, so get out. I won't, Diana said, her voice quiet but absolute. The statement hung in the air, a promise of the storm to come. The Blackstones stopped browsing. Ashley froze behind the counter. The assistant manager, Kevin Torres, looked up from his paperwork, his face etched with concern. Excuse me? Patricia's face hardened. You heard me, Diana replied, an edge of steel entering her voice. You've treated me differently from the moment I walked in. I treat everyone according to our store standards. Your standards, Diana said, her eyes sweeping the room, seem to vary based on skin color. The accusation struck Patricia like a physical blow. That is completely inappropriate, she shrieked. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm not going anywhere, Diana said, her resolve solidifying. Not until I speak to your manager. A triumphant, ugly sneer spread across Patricia's face. I am the manager. Then I want to speak to your manager. There's no one above me at this location, Patricia declared, puffing out her chest. This is my store. Something in Diana's expression shifted. Her voice dropped to a near whisper, yet it carried more weight than a shout. Your store? Blinded by arrogance, Patricia doubled down. Yes, my store, she screamed. I run this place and I decide who gets served. Diana drew herself up to her full height, and for the first time, she looked every inch the titan of industry she was. And you've decided I don't deserve service? I've decided you're a disruption and a potential thief, Patricia shot back, gesturing wildly as other customers began recording on their phones. Kevin, the assistant manager, finally tried to intervene. Patricia, maybe we should... Stay out of this, Kevin. She whirled on him, then pointed a trembling finger at the security guard. Marcus, escort this woman out. Ma'am, are you sure? Marcus asked cautiously. That's when Patricia lost all control. She's a thief, she shrieked, her voice echoing through the silent store. Get her out, or you're both fired. The word, fired, hung in the air. Diana's composure, held for so long, finally broke, not into rage but into something far more dangerous, a cold, calculated fury. You want to talk about firing people? She asked, her voice so quiet everyone leaned in to hear. She raised her phone. Don't you dare record this, Patricia screamed, now hysterical. Diana looked up, her eyes like chips of ice. I'm not recording, she said, her voice deadly calm. I'm calling my board of directors. For the first time, a flicker of genuine confusion crossed Patricia's face. You're... what? Diana's fingers flew across her phone screen, dialing a number she knew by heart. When the call connected, her voice was crisp, professional, the voice of a woman accustomed to unquestioning obedience. Sarah, it's Diana Mitchell. Emergency board meeting. Now. The name, Diana Mitchell, snagged in Patricia's memory. She'd heard it before, but where? The answer eluded her, lost in the fog of her own fury. Across the store, however, Ashley Chen went white as a sheet. She scrolled frantically through her phone, her eyes widening with each passing second. A sharp gasp escaped her lips, loud enough to draw the stares of several customers. Kevin Torres had been watching Diana throughout the confrontation, a nagging suspicion forming in his mind. Her bearing, her confidence, her intimate knowledge of the jewelry, it all felt wrong. Then he heard the name, saw Ashley's horrified expression, and the pieces clicked into place. The color drained from his face as the terrifying truth dawned on him. Diana continued her call, her voice carrying clearly through the now silent store. Yes, I'm at the Beverly Hills location. We have a serious problem. The choice of words was deliberate. Not the store, but the location. It implied ownership, authority, the absolute right to call an emergency board meeting over what happened within these walls. Patricia stood frozen, her mouth agape, struggling to process the scene. The name, Diana Mitchell, circled in her mind, a phantom on the tip of her tongue. I need you to conference in the entire board, Diana said into the phone. Yes, all of them. This can't wait until Monday. By now, other customers were recording the scene, their phones held high. The Blackstones had edged closer, mesmerized by the unfolding drama. Ashley showed Kevin her phone screen, and with every passing moment, his face grew paler. There's been a serious violation of company policy, Diana announced, her eyes locked on Patricia. Discrimination, harassment, a complete abandonment of our core values. Each word struck Patricia like a physical blow. I'll hold while you get everyone on the line. Diana lowered the phone, her gaze settling on Patricia. The store was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Customers and employees stood frozen, waiting. Even the classical music seemed to have faded into silence. Diana stood, phone in hand, her expression a complex mixture of disappointment, rage, and something else. A profound sadness. The sadness of a creator watching her beautiful work being defiled by the very people she'd trusted to protect it. Patricia finally found her voice, though it was barely a whisper. Who are you calling? Diana's smile was as sharp as a blade. I told you, my board of directors, the people who make decisions about stores like this one, the people who decide who stays and who goes. And in that moment, Patricia Whitman understood she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. The name wasn't just familiar. It was the name on every company memo, every policy document, every paycheck she'd received for the past 8 months. Diana Mitchell wasn't some random shopper. Diana Mitchell was the founder, the CEO, the woman who had built Luminous Designs from nothing, who owned every single store in the company. The woman Patricia had dismissed, discriminated against, and tried to eject from the store wasn't just any customer. She was the customer. The one person in the world who could end Patricia's career with a single phone call. And Patricia had just handed her every reason to do exactly that. "Oh my God," Ashley gasped, the reality of the situation hitting her like a freight train. On her phone screen, Kevin saw the company newsletter photo sent to every employee each month. There she was, Diana Mitchell, smiling from the front page under the headline, CEO Spotlight, Building Dreams One Store at a Time. Kevin's face went from pale to ghostly white. They were witnessing the live demolition of Patricia's career. "Patricia, stop," Kevin said urgently, trying to save his boss from digging herself any deeper. "Just stop talking." But Patricia remained oblivious, looking at the shocked faces around her, at the sea of recording phones, at the chaos she had unleashed. "What are you all looking at?" she demanded. Diana ended her call, slipping the phone into her purse with the calm precision of someone setting the wheels of justice in motion. When she looked up at Patricia, her expression was serene, the calm before a storm. "Patricia," Diana said, her voice imbued with natural authority, "what do you know about Luminous Designs' founding principles?" The question annoyed Patricia. A disruptive customer was now quizzing her on company policy? With the deliberate slowness of a gunslinger, Diana reached into her purse. She pulled out a business card and held it between two fingers, letting Patricia get a good look. "Diana Mitchell," she read aloud, "founder and chief executive officer." The sound that escaped Patricia's throat was not quite a gasp, not quite a scream. It was the sound of a world collapsing in on itself. The business card might as well have been a death certificate for her career. Patricia stared at the card, her hand shaking so violently she could barely focus. This isn't... You can't be..." Diana's voice was calm, but it held an edge of steel. "Can't be what, Patricia? Successful? Wealthy? Can't own the store you just tried to claim as your own?" The full weight of her actions crashed down on Patricia. She had discriminated against her own CEO. She had tried to have the founder of the company removed from her own store, in front of cameras and witnesses. Her composure shattered. Tears streamed down her face as she broke down completely. "I didn't know. I never meant..." But Diana had no interest in excuses. 23 years of building a business had taught her to see through false apologies. "You meant every word," Diana said with quiet certainty. "Every look, every assumption." The Blackstones, embarrassed to have been part of the situation, quietly gathered their things and left. Other customers remained frozen, recording, understanding they were witnessing a reckoning. Diana turned to address her employees individually, her voice carrying the authority of a judge. "Kevin," she looked at the young assistant manager, "you tried to stop this. You recognized something was wrong." Kevin nodded, too stunned to speak. "Ashley," she turned to the art student, "you showed genuine care. You embody the values this company was built on." Tears of relief and gratitude filled Ashley's eyes. "Marcus," Diana addressed the security guard, "you questioned an order that felt wrong. You used your judgment." Marcus stood a little straighter. Then Diana turned back to Patricia, her voice heavy with disappointment. "And you violated every principle this company stands for." Patricia was sobbing now, her perfect appearance destroyed. "Clear out your desk, Patricia," Diana said, her voice calm but final. "You no longer work here." Patricia collapsed into herself. "Please, I have children, a mortgage. I was just trying to protect the store's reputation." Diana looked at her, a flicker of pity lost in a sea of disappointment. "Whose reputation? The store's? Or your own prejudice?" "I'll do better. I'll change," Patricia begged, reaching out as if for a lifeline. But Diana had heard these desperate promises before. "You had your chance to do better," she said quietly. "You chose not to take it." The security cameras had captured everything. There was no room for dispute. Diana looked at her remaining employees. "Kevin," she said, "as of right now, you're the manager of this location." Kevin's eyes widened. "Ashley, you're the new assistant manager." Ashley covered her mouth, tears of joy replacing tears of shock. "And Marcus," Diana said to the guard, "you're receiving a commendation and a raise, effective immediately." In less than an hour, justice had been served. One career was over, while 3 others had been transformed by integrity. Patricia struggled to her feet, mascara streaking her cheeks. "Diana, please," she said, using the first name as if it were a shield. "I made a mistake. One mistake. Don't let it ruin my life." Diana turned back, her eyes softening for just a moment. "One mistake?" she repeated softly. "Patricia, this wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern of behavior. This is who you are. But I can change." "You can't train away prejudice," Diana interrupted. "You can only choose not to act on it. And today, you chose to act." Defeated, Patricia sank into a chair, one of the very chairs she had offered the Blackstones, but not Diana. The irony was lost on no one. Diana addressed the remaining customers, her voice resonating through the space she had designed. "I want you to know that this is not what Luminous Designs stands for. This will never happen again in any of my stores." An elderly gentleman stepped forward. "Ma'am, the way you handled this, you should be proud." Diana offered a grateful nod. "Thank you. But I'm only as good as the people who represent me. Today, 3 of them made me very proud." Kevin, already stepping into his new role, asked, "Miss Mitchell, what are our orders for the rest of the day?" Diana surveyed her store. "We stay open. We serve every customer with the respect and dignity they deserve." "What about the media?" Ashley asked quietly. "The videos are already online." "Let them post," Diana said calmly. "Let the world see what happens when you judge people by their appearance. Let them see what happens when you deny service to a customer in their own store." Marcus approached. "Ma'am, should I escort Miss Whitman from the premises?" Diana looked at Patricia, who was slowly, defeatedly gathering her things. "No, Marcus. Let her leave with what dignity she has left." Patricia paused, looking at Diana one last time. "I really am sorry," she said, and for the first time it sounded genuine. "I believe you are," Diana replied. "But sorry doesn't undo the damage." With a small box of personal items, Patricia Whitman walked out of Luminous Designs for the last time. A brief silence fell. Then, Diana clapped her hands once, a sharp sound that broke the spell. "All right, everyone," she said, her voice warm again. "We have a business to run." Diana walked back to the crooked display case that had started it all. She placed her hands on either side and gently nudged it into perfect alignment. A simple, symbolic act of setting her world right again. She turned to the customers who remained. "I apologize for the disruption," she said warmly. "This is not the Luminous standard." An elderly woman approached with obvious admiration. "Ma'am, what you built here is incredible, and you handled that with such grace." Diana smiled, and for the first time, it was completely genuine. "Grace isn't always easy," she replied, "but it's always necessary." Kevin, watching her with awe, finally asked, "How did you stay so calm for so long?" Diana looked at him, the expression of a teacher ready to impart an important lesson. 20 years of building this company taught me that my response defines me, not the actions of others," she said. "I could have lost my temper. I could have screamed back at Patricia, used my power to humiliate her. But that wouldn't have made me right. It would have just made me loud." Diana walked closer to a customer's recording camera, looking directly into the lens. When she spoke, her voice held the conviction of a woman who had spent a lifetime turning obstacles into opportunities. "I didn't build this company to prove I belonged somewhere," she said, her voice carrying the weight of 2 decades of struggle and success. "I built it to create spaces where everyone belongs." She paused, her fingers tracing the tarnished silver bracelet on her wrist. It was the same one she had worn through poverty, rejection, and every challenge that led her to this very moment. "This bracelet survived poverty, discrimination, and loss," Diana continued, holding up her wrist for the camera. The simple piece of silver meant more to her than all the diamonds in her store. "It taught me that real value isn't what others see on the surface. It's what you carry inside." Diana then moved back to the Aurora collection, the $2 million display Patricia had been so reluctant to show. With careful precision, she began arranging each piece, treating every necklace, every ring, as a work of art deserving of respect. "Success isn't just about reaching the top," Diana said, her hands gentle but sure as she positioned the jewelry. "It's about who you choose to be when you get there." Stepping back, she surveyed the display case, satisfied. Around her, the store had returned to a state of calm efficiency. Kevin was assisting customers, Ashley was learning her new responsibilities, and Marcus maintained his professional watch, ensuring everyone's safety. Diana looked around the store she had built, at the employees who showed integrity under pressure, at the customers who had witnessed justice served with dignity, not revenge. This was what she had worked for. Not just the financial success, but the creation of a space where people felt valued and respected, no matter who they were or where they came from. The woman once told she didn't belong in her own store had just reminded everyone why she belonged anywhere she chose to be. She had done it through grace, through strength, and through an unshakable belief that treating people with dignity wasn't just good business. It was the only way to build something that lasts. The display case was straight. The discriminatory manager was gone. And Diana Mitchell had proven, once again, that the most powerful response to prejudice isn't anger. It is success, lived with grace, and used to lift others up.